you. Sutek is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Damn you, Sutek!
This show ain't no good.
Don't watch. Turn off the TV. Go and touch grass, please, for God's sake.
I'm a bender.
Who the hell are you anyway?
I'm a bender.
I saved the whole of reality from you. I am
a bender. Call me the
Bender.
This is Zoe, Jamie, and I'm
a bender.
Might I suggest you just call me
A bender.
No, I'm the Bender.
Oh, please don't call me human. Just B-E-N-D-E-R. Bender. How do you do, sir?
I'm a bender.
Her name is Tegan, Your Majesty. This is Turlo, and
I'm a bender.
No, actually, I am known as
a bender.
Now that we're all here, let me introduce myself.
I'm a bender. I'm a bender.
And who are you?
what are you going to do with
A bender.
Do you know what I see, Doctor?
Bender.
I walked in universes where the laws of physics were devised by the mind
I'm
of
a bender.
basically run?
So I got married. Yes, we actually did it. In this beautiful place that you can see behind me. With the swimming pool there. It's a nice sort of cliff area. It's a little dock. And of course, open ocean. What a beautiful place to get married. And I just wanted to say to all of you guys who follow the channel and you've been so supportive and wishing us well, that I'd like to say just a big thank you for all your support. Mrs. Come here. Say thank you to the audience.
Hi guys, thank you. How are y'all?
She's fine. Check it out. Look. 1, 2. All right. I'll be back very soon. Tonight. I had to do it. Hello and welcome back to Will of the Fans. My name is Will, Mr. Will of the Fans, implying then that there is a Mrs. of the Fans. And yes, there actually is, of course. As many of you already know, I got married 2 days ago. And apart from having to rush back, of course, for this very stream and for this very stream only, you lucky people, I would otherwise be probably chilling drunk in a hotel room somewhere, but there you go. Anyway, that's what happened, and thank you everybody for all your support. And I just wanted to get that out of the way before I announce that yes, it is indeed WhoTF live. Yeah. And then, yes, as Mudcrab pointed out, I was in fact touching grass at my wedding, amongst other things. But anyway, that is the nature of the beast. I am married, and I can already see that someone has already dropped a special something for us. So I will get to that in just a moment. But first of all, it's that show where we talk about Doctor Who, discuss, dissect, and disseminate all of the disgust and, you know, the occasional good of the show as it was, is, and probably won't be. So I'm joined as always by my regular panel, Mr. Ryan Roger Athay, Mr. Golden Age Geek, and Mr. Rev, aka Dobby. Ryan, would you like to say hello, sir?
Well, hello everyone. I hope you're all doing well, and it's great to see you all watching today. Thankfully, I told all the fine folks over at Saturday Night Hypnosis about Will getting married and having a honeymoon with his rice muncher wife. That caused quite the reaction.
Asian wife.
That too. But it just goes to show Americans, they love freedom of speech, but when you give it to them raw, they really don't like it. But it's great to be here, ladies and gentlemen. Always great to be on Will of the Fans' channel, whether it's WhoTF Live or WTF Live. He's living the American dream in Asia, while we've got Dobby, the main man behind Skull and Bones, because that's all he is. And it's always great to see Golden Age Geek, who is definitely not gay. So, yeah, now on to Goldie.
Are you trying to suggest something here, Ryan? Because
yes, you're a homosexual who likes Atreians.
You live with a man, I live with a woman, you're the gay one. Okay, anyway. Hello, everyone. It is good to be back. That's my father, you dirty bastard.
Boom, got him.
Yeah, well, who knows what you get up to? You're a weird fella. Anyway,
you live with your sister. There we go.
Can I do my intro, please?
No.
Hush. I'm very happy to be here once again. It's very different for me today because usually I wake up an hour or two before the stream and I have to rush to get here and I'm like out of breath. But I woke up around, God, what was it, 8 hours ago. So I've had plenty of time to think about Doctor Who, the various topics and everything in between. So I'm looking forward to this one. On to Dobby.
Yeah, shiver me timbers. I am the captain of Skull and Bones. Thank you, Ryan, for giving my secret away. I really appreciate it. My pirate lifestyle has come out. It's good to be here. I hope everybody enjoys the stream. It's good to have Will back. Why does Dobby look like Steve Val? I don't know. I look like many people. I do. I'm sorry about that, but it's kind of, you know, I'm like Face from the E18.
Fucking do.
Why is Dobby scary? Yeah, you're calling me scary.
He looks like the skeleton from biology class.
Jesus Christ, there's this savage on this channel. I swear.
There's the guy that
get away with murder.
Jeremy out of prison.
True. Yeah. Down on his luck, Ron Jeremy / Eggman / Wario / whatever else.
Mario.
Look, I'm holding a Dobby in my hands. Look.
Oh, for crying out loud. Savagery.
Ryan is paper. Mario, and then Goldie can be Luigi.
Yeah, I actually get accused of being Mario from a guy who looks like a Goomba quite regularly. So that's a friend of mine I have, an Indian fella.
Yes, I'm Captain Jack Scarecrow. You got me. Guilty.
Is that your entire intro? Like, is there anything else you want to say, or should we just move past this fucking farce and get on? Because we do have a lot of things to talk about. But first of all, Eris Rhoda, one of our mods, an absolute legend, longtime follower of the channel, and someone I really appreciate being here, has respectfully given me £20 as a wedding present, and thank you very much. Felt like an extra special moment, so I played an extra special sound. So there you go. Thank you very much. Well appreciated. Yes, I do have a lot of expenses that I need to cover, so you're actually helping me more than you think. All right, so there's plenty to talk about. As someone was accusing this of being a very clickbaity title, I think it was the Time Prophet. Well, it's not that the Timeless Child exactly saves Doctor Who. It's claimed that it, in fact, helps to fix an old mystery that was never explained. But we will get to that.
Can I?
All in good time. Go on.
Can I just elaborate on that? I get plenty of comments which always accuse me of having a clickbait title and all this stuff. Absolute nonsense. People need to know the difference between like making a blanket statement and asking a question. Will has put a question mark after Timeless Children Saves Doctor Who. It's a question from which, it's a topic that will spawn off from that and something we will discuss. So it's not a statement, it's a question. It's basically presenting a topic, which is always, what I do in my titles. I'll say like, is Russell's era of Doctor Who doomed? And I'll put a question mark, and people sort of accuse me of saying that that's a fact that I'm laying out. But yeah, so I'm on to you, Time Prophet.
Oh, so this is how you guys get viewership. Oh.
Clickbait. There's not really any shame in playing the game.
And Ryan, it helps to not put slurs in the titles of your videos.
YouTube
like doesn't seem to like
charity scamming allegation.
Yeah, I would just put
like
trans or leggy PTQ or whatever you want to put. Doesn't really matter. Just not like the derogatory terms. Like, save that for the content within. But hey, that's me. I mean, it's not like I'm a megastar. I have 7,500 subs, and actually been watching that number go up and down for like
yo-yoing.
It's really yo-yoing. So it's sort of circulating about three above or 3 below 7,550 at the moment. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, subscribe to me. I'm a nice guy. I won't lie to you. I might put a question mark and ask a stupid question that, exaggerates a little, but then you'll have a good time while you're here.
People wish I did lie to them, considering what I say is truthful. But
the stuff that you say is far too honest. What's your okay? Right, I got two things I want to ask. Deal with first before we move on to actually one of these news articles.
Sure.
Really, it's anybody's choice which one. First, TJAP Steve has given $42. My God, what do I do with that one? I guess I'm going to have to go even one level higher. Oh my god! It goes on a bit, that one. Yeah. TJ
Ryan,
Steve,
do a special dance
obviously.
that you did in the other video.
Yeah, do the Numa dance. I might make a video of that. I don't know. For life, the universe, and everything, as well as Mr., Mrs., and Princess of the Fans. Oh, thank you very much. And because we know Ryan will demonetize the stream within 5 minutes, I don't know how to pronounce that. How do you pronounce that? Thank you very much. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you too, Steve. And obviously, I do get the 42 reference being from Hitchhiker's Guide. So, yeah. Okay.
It appears we have a lot of Doctor Who rookies in the chat because everyone's accusing me of standing outside. I'm not standing outside. This is the 1996 TV movie TARDIS. So obviously, a bunch of you haven't, watched all of Doctor Who.
I would say I've seen about 70% of all of Doctor Who, maybe 65% if I was being a bit unkind to myself, just to give myself some wiggle room. Can I remember all of it? No. What have I seen the most? The modern stuff, of course. And that's why I deal with that primarily, so that I can also have time to do research on the older stuff, watch it all again for later episodes of this stream. But in the meantime, we do have a fair amount of silly news things to cover. The first of which is the story that we sort of touched on last week, but we didn't actually really comment on in any meaningful way. And that would be the Fear Her thing, as you brought up earlier on in our chat, Goldie. What the hell happened here? They deleted the episode. Is that right?
Yep.
What do you want me? Well, no, they didn't. They haven't deleted it. So what they've done is, I don't know whether this is just for BBC iPlayer or whether they've done it for all the overseas streaming services that they, provide the episodes to. But with on BBC iPlayer, they've temporarily removed Fear Her, and what they're going to do is they're going to get rid of the audio, because I don't think he actually appeared in person, but there's like 20 seconds or so of him speaking. When in the RTD era, whenever something would happen, they'd have the news reporters talking about it. So, and he was one of those. So what they've done is they've got that episode, they've taken it away, and what they're going to do is get rid of his audio and have someone else say his lines that he said in that episode, put them in there, and put the episode back up. I don't know whether as I mentioned a minute ago, I don't know whether this is going to be the case for the other streaming services, like in America, if you have, I don't know, was it like HBO Max or something like that? I don't know whether that's going to happen on those, but I know on BBC iPlayer, that's what they're doing.
I can say that they haven't changed it here. It's still the same.
Well, I'm always going to have the original because I have the box sets and
yeah. So do I. They're right. You can't see. I think they're out of frame, but they are.
I was watching someone else's video on this topic, and they said it wouldn't surprise me if the BBC and Disney, because they're so desperate for money and out of this franchise, that they would resell Fear Her on physical media. Look, guys, you can get Fear Her again.
You can get
Remember this episode
cut.
yeah.
Release the Edwards cut. Fuck that. So basically, it was just his voiceover, right? In the episode, because I'm not going to lie to you guys, I hate Fear Her, as I think everyone can tell, because I'm pretty sure
that's the funniest thing,
list, wasn't it?
Like everyone has been talking about, is this episode permanently gone? No, but the thing is, it's so funny that this has happened to this episode, because it's probably one of the only episodes that people wouldn't give a fuck about if it just went off into the air forever.
I think, literally 2 episodes from the RTD era that I would just exterminate is Fear Her and 42.
42 is boring as well, yeah. So it was, of course, bottom
who
of our
wrote
list.
that episode?
Christian Balls.
Christian
Balls.
Yeah. Who wrote Fear Her? That was an RTD one, wasn't it?
Graham Harper.
Really?
I think one of the things that's the most annoying about Fear Her, and I think it's Fear Her, not Boomtown, but I think Fear Her, it was supposed to be another episode. I think Stephen Fry was supposed to have written its episode that was supposed to take its place, and they didn't have enough money for it, so they ditched it for Fear Her.
Oh, no. That's terrible. I mean, Stephen Fry might say a lot of things that I don't agree with, but I still respect the man for the quality of everything that he's done.
Stephen Fry 20 years ago would have written something quality.
A funnier name for the episode would have been Fear the Black Woman, because that's essentially what it is.
It is interesting.
When you remember how she kept on like whispering everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I honestly, the reason I even brought it up, how much I hate that episode, is simply because I always skip it. Every time I've watched Series 2, I skip it. I skip that, and then in Series 3, I skip the Lazarus experiment because it sucks ass.
The Olympics is like cursed, because this year's Olympics cursed, and then like the Olympics of 2012, which that episode is centered around, there's something cursed around that.
At least the actual 2012 Olympics went quite well, especially for Team GB. But yeah, no, the current Olympics, of course. I mean, I don't even know where to start with that. I think the guy who beat up the woman is now the gold medalist or something. Outrageous. There's no point to even start.
All the countries that host the Olympics get cursed. I mean, Germany hosted the Olympics, and then in 10 years, their entire country collapsed. And it's
funny because 12 years after our country held the Olympics, it's burning itself to the ground right now. Yeah. That's interesting. Cursed, huh?
Don't host the Olympics ever.
Not even once. Anyway, so we're dealing with a situation here where Fear Her was taken off of iPlayer or something, taken off iPlayer and taken off other streaming services because of one line of dialogue from Hugh Edwards, who is now the disgraced PDF file newscaster, who most people have taken the piss out of for years anyway because of his like extreme Welshness. Sorry, Ryan. Because he always, I mean, I think I saw a sketch from Alistair McGowan, like, 20 years ago at least, where he was doing an impression of Edwards and he was like, it's 6:15 and coming up later in the program. Nothing about Wales, and like looking angry and stuff like that. So that's bad enough. But now he turns out to be the scum of the earth, a producer of a certain type of content that you can only get away with. You can only get away with that kind of thing on Instagram now, mother liquor.
I mean, the first thing that brought down Hugh Edwards was the fact that he was showing pictures of his anus to other people on his mobile phone, and that's what caused him to get cancelled the first time. But these recent revelations are of a much more egregious nature surrounding children, which means he's definitely getting purged. So what are they going to do? Are they going to like recast him for when the Queen, because the Queen passed away, and the first host to cover it was Hugh Edwards with his black suit and his black tie?
Probably not.
No.
They'll race swap him.
Well, no, they'll probably keep it
Sorry,
because of
go on,
Prince
Rev.
Andrew and Andrew's tendencies for young people.
Yeah, it does seem like everybody in power and authority or in celebrity at the moment is being labeled a certain type of thing, and unfortunately in most cases it does seem to be the case. I don't know what to say about this. I mean, obviously it's disgusting. He's voluntarily it's not like, you know, some guy at a party who messes up or something. This is a guy who produced the material himself, apparently. Not just partook of it, but created it, meaning that he did that stuff to the people involved. I'm being very careful with my English right now. Go on, Goldie.
Yeah, all I said about this in my video was that, again, it's funny that happened to this episode because it's the one episode that no one really cares about. But I sort of looked at it from the perspective of, you know, what's this going to lead to in the future? Because I'm sure sometime in the future there's going to be some controversy involving some actor who's appeared in Doctor Who, and they're going to want to edit him or her out and things like that. And I said, look, Hugh Edwards didn't appear in person in the episode. It's just his voice. So I said, you know, maybe he shouldn't be removed from the episode. Not because, you know, I think he didn't do anything wrong. Of course, he's absolutely evil. But when you start, like, you know, bringing up questions of, well, this person was in this episode, so maybe we should cut out all these scenes or get rid of this episode entirely, it opens a whole other can of worms, you know, because I posed this question in my video. If it comes out years down the line that one of the actors who played one of the doctors was involved in something, what, are we going to just wipe all of their, you know, 50, 60, maybe even more episodes off of all streaming services and stop selling the physical media? Like, what's done is done. It's terrible and it's awful what happened, but I don't think people should be going...
Yeah, what happens to David Tennant when our culture finally recovers from this madness about, you know, transforming children and stuff like that? What happens to him, like, when that becomes morally outrageous again?
A great example of what Goldie mentions would be Jimmy Savile, a man who worked for the BBC for 5 decades, who was one of their main men for multiple decades, the head of many yeah, that too. He was the head of so many BBC shows, it was unbelievable. And what did the BBC do? After the scandal was released, first they tried to protect him, protect his legacy, because it was part of theirs. And then when all was revealed, you just don't mention him again.
Yeah, he got Chris Benoit, you know, like...
and
like
exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing would happen if it was revealed that one of the actors or actresses who played the Doctor, if they were of that persuasion, of that decadent and corrupt persuasion, they would simply be memory holed and never really talked about.
Yeah, well, that is basically what they do, because they haven't got the bottle to... if they were to come out and say, okay, we absolutely abhor this, which they probably have to say that at least. Now, with what we know now, we're going to have to delete blah, blah, blah. I guess there's sort of elements of it, how important it is versus how important, like, how important to the culture it is versus how much it can easily be just deleted without really, you know, affecting people's experience of, like, BBC history. It's very difficult to get rid of Jimmy Savile because he was in so much stuff for the BBC, but they had to do it because his crimes were so egregious. So I guess it would be worse. Go on.
Oh no, I was going to say I agree with Time Prophet when he says they shouldn't be changing the past, because I mentioned this as well. Whether we're talking about politics or entertainment, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And if you allow them to just remove Hugh Edwards from this episode, then they're more likely to go, okay, well, in this episode, they said some lines which aren't really suitable for today because of, you know, racism and all that. So oh, we'll just take that out. And then it'll go to, oh, well, this episode, well, we'll just take that one. It's just one of many. Oh, we'll just take that out. Oh, we'll just stop doing this. And it will just keep on going. We've seen that with, even though the case is very different with things like Roald Dahl, all of his books are being censored now. James Bond, all those books being censored in the movies.
That's totally
some copies. Yeah, because I mentioned this in my video a few years ago. I was watching Only Fools and Horses on some streaming services and also on various TV channels. And I remember at certain points going, well, I distinctly remember that scene coming after this. So where is it? Because it ain't showing up here. And then I'd get the box sets, and it turns out that they've removed like 5 to 7 odd minutes from episodes. And again, this will just keep on going as these people want to, change the past. I mean, favorite show, Smallville, right? I'm sure you're all aware of, or maybe you're not, of what Alison Mack was doing, who played Chloe. Does that mean that they should just remove basically every single episode of Smallville so you can't watch any of that anymore? No, because she's an actor and, well, actress, and she did all that stuff in her own time, whatever, but it didn't really affect the show, So I don't think, we should be removing all this stuff or editing it and things like that. What's happened has happened, and it's awful. Everyone should take measures to assure that it doesn't happen again.
I mean, look, okay, so as a parallel example, and I sort of mentioned it a minute ago, would be the Chris Benoit thing in the wrestling scene, because this is one of the guys who was lauded as an absolutely fantastic technical wrestler, and it's unfortunate he was the rabid Wolverine or whatever, but he did a lot for wrestling, and then unfortunately went out the way he did and took his family with him, which is horrible, absolutely horrible. But should his matches all be gone? Probably not. No. And I guess the best thing that the WWE could do on their own network, at least, was air the pay-per-views as they were, but just not put a timestamp in for his matches so that you had to go and look for it yourself, or just watch the entire thing from start to finish to find the match with him and his name being mentioned. And you can't do much more than that. It really ultimately should be the duty of the parents, and I know they never want to give any power or responsibility to parents these days, to decide for themselves whether they're willing to let their kid watch someone who then went on to become a latter-day, pariah for some horrible thing that they did. And it shouldn't be the job of the state to decide what parts of media are suitable or unsuitable. But then, of course, it becomes the parent's responsibility to provide the context should the child ever ask, or something like that. It's different. It's a case-by-case kind of basis.
It is also a question of standards, because what was normal and conventional, say, in the 1980s is not normal or conventional in the 2020s, just like it won't be normal and conventional in the 2060s. I mean, what I say, for example, is designed to test people, to see if they're reality-based or not, because I don't lie to people personally or as a content creator. And what I say today, perfectly acceptable 40, 50 years ago, but I am sure
encouraged even.
Yeah, encouraged even. But in 40 to 50 years' time, who knows? Maybe the prominent creators who turn into massive creator enterprises will just omit all the episodes where I made an appearance on their show. Bit too controversial for all our advertisers and sponsors, especially with all those neo-tranny Leninists out there in the 2060s.
We'll just download every single episode of WTF Live and WhoTF Live, reality-based in all of its incarnations, and then release a massive Blu-ray collection, the best of Ryan.
The reality-based universe, and hopefully, thanks to all your donations, I'll be able to build the archive so that none of you fuckers who've had me on your shows get rid of me from your legacy.
I don't see myself doing that, to be fair. As much as you can be near the knuckle sometimes, I still stand by your right.
You're based in the Philippines, so you can get away with lots of things,
That's true.
Yeah.
That is actually true. Like someone said earlier on, I dare you to comment on this as a British person, and it was some police woman with a insane haircut, and I just commented, yeah, I'm British, her hair's retarded, but I'm in the Philippines, so come and get me,
But about Benny Hill being, they'll probably never get rid of Benny Hill because not many people even kind of remember it. because it was
Yeah,
always
they'll just memory hole it. They don't have to get rid of something to just not talk about it and memory hole it. That's why in 20 to 30 years' time, young people grow up. They will have no idea who the fuck Jimmy Savile is, because his legacy will simply be memory holed and forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I mean, as Divine Dragon pointed out, the rewriting Roald Dahl thing is disgusting. I remember I was driving at some point last year, and I was listening to, I don't know, Lotus Eaters or someone like that, and they were talking about what exactly it was that they had rewritten, and there was literally nothing worth. Like I read Matilda to my daughter while she was still inside her mother, and I remember, because that was about the time it happened. I think that's why I did it, actually, because they were rewriting the books, and I was like looking for anything that might be, considered inappropriate for human consumption. And I read the book when I was 5. So, and I'm like, no, this is utterly charming. Of course it is. It's Roald fucking Dahl. There's absolutely nothing. Oh, so he writes that a kid is fat. Well, you know what? Jump on a treadmill, Tubby. Deal with it. I could stand to lose a few pounds myself, even after this wedding, especially after this wedding. So, yeah, I mean, stuff like that is completely unnecessary and ridiculous. And that's the problem, is if you start with something like, okay, it's just Hugh Edwards' voice in an episode of Doctor Who. You never even see his face. Okay, I guess you can get away with that. Taking it down to re-record a different newscaster's audio version of just leave it in there. It's barely anything.
But we
trust me, no one's going back to rewatch Fear.
No one. Yeah, I mean, no one's in danger of being exposed to Hugh Edwards through his evil voice, watching one of the worst episodes of Modern Who.
But we live in a time where everything's got to be censored because people just don't have the backbone anymore. The second they read something controversial, we've got to ban everything. It is absolutely pathetic.
Well, you say that, Darby, but I've been a content creator for nearly 3 years now, and no one's been able to find a solution to the problem that is, how do you fight weakness? Because that is the greatest weapon our opposition uses against us, and we don't have an answer in the West to it. That's why standards are going through the floor. That's why censorship is dominating our society, because it's all predicated on weaponized weakness. And as I said before, and as I'll say again, the only societies that can really challenge that and get rid of that are very totalitarian, very limited when it comes to human rights, and quite honestly, don't give a fuck if you're weak. You're going into the fucking fire to power the power station for the electricity.
So where do we draw the line then? I mean, and to add another layer to this, it's the same people censoring this and censoring what they consider to be unsafe and blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, at the same time, it's them who are crying book burning when people don't want their 5-year-old child or 4-year-old child to be reading books about homosexuality when they're in kindergarten. So, I mean, obviously we know the answer for this because we're sensible, common sense kind of people, but how would you convince them? Like, what is book burning and what is, avoiding perverting your children?
Well, something tells me they can't be convinced.
Yeah.
Which is why, as I said before, the most effective parts of the world are dealing with this sort of nonsense. Impose their values upon these kinds of people. That's why they cry oppressor. Oh, we're being oppressed. Oh, we are weak. Oh, we are the victims. But they use that and weaponize that. But countries and peoples that just don't give a fuck if you're a victim just say, okay, you're a victim. Off into the fire.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. It's like if 1984, if the government was constantly crying out that they're being victimized. But, of course, that's...
A funny thing I heard before we move on. Apparently, Russia has banned trannies from driving cars because it's a mental illness over there and mentally ill people can't drive cars. So, yeah, good on Russia.
Can they still teach drag queen story hour to children?
No, they were never allowed to
I'm
do
sure
that.
they were not. Yeah, of course, yeah. But driving is oddly specific. Okay, fine. I mean, I know a lot of people where I live whose IQs would classify as mentally ill by Western standards, and they're all allowed to drive. Trust me, in about 7 hours' time, I'm going to be competing with them for road real estate as I try and pick up my wife from where she still is.
Yeah, it's true, Cthulhu. They really did ban tranny people from driving.
Yeah, based. I would encourage the same policy. Mentally ill people shouldn't have basic human rights because they can't function.
Can they still ride a bicycle though? Are they still legally allowed? And that is, of course, with the saddle on.
Probably not.
I think they mean all forms of transportation. Driving was just specifically put. So, yeah.
Interesting. All right.
Moving on.
Fair enough. So this is I mean, I don't really know what to do with this because it's such a tiny grain of sand, a granular version of what is a very terrifying thing. Do you think the episode should be censored or not?
No. And I'm going to say why. Because there's no point. Like, okay, what he did was morally reprehensible and he's going to do time for it, etc. But you can't just go back and change things because of something somebody did. Like, you can't just keep on changing things and editing things. People existed and did these episodes. You can't always just go back and remove them and pretend they were never in there trying to save your shows, because that doesn't fix the problem. What fixes the problem is he's got to see justice, let justice be done, and leave the shows alone. Because otherwise you're going to get people thinking, well, okay, is the BBC just picking and choosing who they're going to support and who they're going to throw under the bus? I mean, that's going to be the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, it is, it's never good to censor things. And like I said, I think, ultimately it's the responsibility of the parent. Something like this is kind of a nothing burger. It's, it's terrible that he did what he did. And I'm sure he's appeared more in other media, like much more so, as I think we even pointed out. So one sound clip of his voice without his face attached to it is just like, okay. I mean, he speaks in, as close to a received pronunciation accent these days as he can. So, yeah, fuck it. I mean, it's nothing. And the episode sucks anyway. I mean, if they took it down, it doesn't even does it even further the overall plot of series 2 in any way?
No, it's a filler episode, just
it's
like
completely
Boomtown
throwaway,
was.
right? Yeah, because there are throwaway episodes that, like in the modern series we just watched, the season 1, 14 or 14, they were like, every episode was utter shit. I wouldn't recommend watching it to anybody, but if you only wanted to watch the fucking Church on Ruby Road and then the finale 2-parter of this series, then at least you'd have some kind of narrative through line, but you would have missed all those times when it snowed somewhere while they were traveling around amongst other complete BS. So it's like, it's not one of those episodes where something relevant to the theme or through line of the series actually happens. So fuck it, throw it away, bin it completely. It's crap. Hugh Edwards isn't the reason to do that. And stop censoring things. We're big enough and ugly enough to handle ourselves and our kids. Thank you very much. All right, well, there you go. So the next thing then would be Ncuti Gatwa, who is now a millionaire, guys. Don't know if you knew about this. He has become a millionaire thanks to his own company. Now, this is a strange little nugget of a story, but I was curious. I wanted to go through it with you guys because it didn't seem
money.
No, he didn't. He basically, so let me just read it. It says, Doctor Who star Ncuti Gatwa, this is the Daily Mail, by the way, so take it with a pinch of salt, has reportedly doubled his fortune thanks to his huge role as the Time Lord. The actor 31 made his debut, blah, blah, blah. Ncuti has apparently seen his earnings double to £1.9 million, according to The Sun. So we can go to that article. It says he became a millionaire before appearing as the Time Lord after starring in the Hollywood blockbuster. The actor who will take on the sought-out role later this year made his name in Sex Education, blah, blah, blah. And thanks to his various acting and apparently playing the Doctor tipped him just over the edge, that he was able to pay himself something in the region of, I think it's the other article, £700,000. And the only reason I want to talk about this is because what would you say that that performance is worth?
Absolute nothing.
I mean, if you had to pay Ncuti Gatwa for his performance in Doctor Who, I'm trying to find the thing.
£1.50.
£1.50.
I would give him a box of tissues to clean up his tears.
I'd give him a one-way ticket back to Rwanda.
I cannot find this. It's driving me crazy. Yeah, I mean, so basically, he acted in Doctor Who, he acted in Barbie, and he acted in something else. But it made me aware that he actually has a company of his own that's called Gemini Moon, something that frustrates the hell out of me because I am born in June, and that's just another thing that pisses me off about being born in June these days. Pride Month wasn't enough now. So now apparently it seems that he... Right, exactly. So this is where I went with this. So I went to Company's House and I ended up looking up Gemini Moon Limited. It's registered, as you would expect. It's a private company. It was incorporated on 14th of October 2020. And he takes his salary from this company. And there is absolutely nothing else about it. I have been to like 5 different websites. I have been all over the internet looking for something here. The only thing you can find is the nature of the business is performing arts. So basically, he incorporated
it's a special type of performing arts.
Go on.
I thought it would have been some fashion thing because we saw all those like photo shoots he was doing and with all those different clothes and which looks like, I don't know, but yeah, it could be something related to that. I don't know. That's just what my mind went to.
Well, I thought it would be like a talent agency or something. You know,
but
like
who?
maybe he's...
Yeah, but he has no right. He has no skills there to be teaching anyone about acting.
Yeah, but he thinks he can.
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, he's a hopeless actor. He's absolutely useless. And there it is. It says the Sun reported that the Rwandan Scottish TV star paid himself a handsome wage of £700,000 from the money earned.
Coming from the people who say tax the rich and give up all their money.
Which is interesting because the Daily Mail is supposed to be a right-wing publication. It used to be anyway.
I mean, from my perspective, ladies and gentlemen, what greater way to elevate your importance than not just being an actor, not just being a performer or a sole trader, but also being a business owner of $1 million company. It's a way of expanding his importance.
Yeah. And just as a final punchline, because this was never supposed to be like a massive segment or anything, just I wanted to point out that the actor who's pretty much only known now for crying spontaneously over and over and over again, like that's the only acting he can actually do. Everything else he does is just a plank of wood with a face drawn on it, and mahogany for that record. But it's his name is Misero. His name is Misero Ncuti Gatwa. Misero. That sounds like a superhero who defeats like villains by crying in their general direction. And I just thought that was quite funny.
Just to clear it up, when I said about, you know, coming from the people who say tax the rich and all that, I didn't mean the Daily Mail. I meant Ncuti Gatwa. You know, he's someone who's very, you know, very liberal, very left, and yet he's getting all this money because that's what they all do. That's what they all do. They all preach, but they don't live by their own rules.
No, yeah, of course. Absolutely right. Every single one of these leftists, these zealots, will put on the like what's her face? The mad bitch from the US AOC. She wears a dress that says like tax the rich or eat the rich or something like that, while quietly putting millions of dollars in her own bank account. I mean, they literally, all of these people are capitalists. Every single human on this planet knows that the accumulation of wealth is key to having a good life and succeeding and having an easier time of it.
It always cracks me up when I see some like politician that they're going to some food bank or something like that, and it turns out, because people on social media, they're quite smart, they always find these things out. It would turn out that this politician wore a £150,000 jacket to go to this food bank, and it's like, oh, give it a rest. Like, these people have some nerve trying to be like, we're one of you. We're going to help you. Meanwhile, look at me. I'm covered in money.
Yeah. Cardboard revolution. I will literally dress in cardboard to prove I am not a rich elitist. I'll be like Colonel Gaddafi. I'll wear a brown garbage bag over myself to prove that. See, look, there we go.
Right now.
So
it's my burqa. It's my burqa. There we go.
So when Ryan comes,
oh no, what have I done?
So when he comes here to the States, Ryan's going to have his tent. He's going to be like Gaddafi, you know, he'll stay in his tent and we can.
Yeah, I don't know. Ryan's gone on to business for himself there with a cardboard burqa, but okay.
I wonder if this is like a sex toy company. That's why you can't find any information.
As I said before, this is a way of elevating his importance to not just being an actor or a performer or a sole trader, but being a business owner of a $1 million company. And as he gets more roles, elevating his importance, it'll be a multi-million-dollar company. This company that he founded, rather, is literally designed to elevate his importance beyond his station.
Or he's money laundering.
Well, I don't know what he's doing either. Like, as someone pointed out, a company's house typically has quite substantial details of a business and its operations and stuff. This company, it doesn't have very much at all. The overview is the address, the incorporation date, and the business nature, which is performing arts. It's got filing history. Yeah, fine. I'm not interested in going into that for the benefit. It's the most boring live stream ever. His name, I guess, and the fact that he is the only person working for this company. One officer, no resignations.
Definitely, it's money laundering. I bet you any money that's what he's
doing. What's he doing? Sending money to Rwanda? Because I'm pretty sure you do that through charitable donations.
It's a more formalized version of a content creator's enterprise. A one-man band that has to register and, you know, has to tell the authorities, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm getting, this is what I'm paying in, that sort of thing. This is nothing more than a one-man band sole trader who has started a company so that in the scenario where it all comes fucking crashing down, he won't have to pay off anything. The company he's founded will have to pay it off, which means his personal finances will not be done in. So that's a way of covering himself if it all goes down the drain. But on the plus side, for Misero, having a company...
That's such an unfortunate name. It's like I would have come up with that myself, just looking at it, crying all the time. Sorry, God.
But being a business owner, as I said before, it elevates his importance. And if it comes crashing down, it's Gemini Moon that falls, not Misero Ncuti Gatwa.
Misero.
I love that name. No,
that is the best, isn't it? I'm sure it's not pronounced like that. There'll be some African pronunciation of it, just like shooting.
Probably his alter ego. You know, late at night he like puts on the tights and everything. I'm Misero.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, I don't want to be one of these people who's like, oh, he's got a company. What's he doing with that? Because I've had companies, and fair enough. But it's just like, why do you need to incorporate yourself as an actor? And your net worth. There aren't that many actors who've done this. They have companies that do things like production, talent agencies, that kind of thing. What's he doing? Like, what's this for? Like, just to pay himself?
Gemini Moon sounds like the name of some perfume.
Yeah, or like some third tier forgotten JRPG from the 1990s or something. It's just whatever, I guess. It's just a perfectly fine name for a company, I guess, if you want to have it. But why?
You're fired.
It's him doing the firing because he is the only person working there. So what?
No, he wouldn't fire anyone. He'd just look at them and cry.
Why would you get paid to your company that is only you, so you can then pay yourself?
Well, just imagine it. Imagine Reality Based Limited, sole director and founder is me. And then
well,
whatever.
You do say you are the founder, so there's that.
Well, yes, but it's more of a mindset than a brick and mortar company. And anytime, he gets resources, they don't go to him, they go to his company.
Yeah.
So that's a way of separating himself from, the negatives of business while getting in all the positives, plus the status of being a business owner of $1 million company.
Well, it does seem to be, yeah. And now he can take his own salary from it, thus separating himself from his earnings.
So the revenue he gets, it goes to his company, then to him, like a sort of human shield. Whereas in my case, we don't have something like this because all of what we do is donatory, it's voluntary, and that is why we'll never go into business simply because of the fact that I always fail at business. It's not my cup of tea.
If only the 15th Doctor was as smart as Ncuti Gatwa.
Misero
Gatwa, yeah. I feel like we're gonna have to incorporate that somehow now into our
Misero Ncuti Gatwa. After you laugh, Dobby, it's his fucking name.
Yeah, I know.
It's like calling Brie Larson Brienne Sildoni de Saulniers. You may laugh at it, it's her fucking name.
Whose?
Brie Larson's full name is Brienne Sildoni de Saulniers.
How do you know that off by heart?
Hell. He must like feet. He must like dodgy feet.
And no one talks about it. The fact that quite a few actors and actresses have stage names. If they're not even,
they have stage names,
if they're not even truthful with their own fucking name.
Yeah, Russell T.
I
Davies,
think
his name isn't Russell. I think Russell's his middle name. His first name's Stephen.
David Tennant. It's not
his
real
name.
name.
Is McDonald, yeah. Yeah. Most actors have stage names. That's nothing I would call like egregious or.
That's like me saying my stage name is Savak Loom. It's got nothing to fucking do with my actual name. No, I just.
No, I mean my stage name is Will of the Fans. That's not what's on my birth certificate, you know.
In life, people have three names: their birth name, their stage name, and their reality-based name.
There we go.
There you go. There it is. So what we have Rev here, who has his name,
Dobby.
Then his chosen name. No, his real name, whatever that is, and then his chosen handle for the internet, and then the reality-based name, which is Dobby.
Same with Goldie. Same with I just call him Will. And for me, my reality-based name is reality-based.
This is one advantage.
Come up with a new reality-based
name. Your real name. What would you call yourself if you could go back and invent a name for yourself, Ryan, instead of just calling yourself Ryan Rodrathe? Like if you had to, if you wanted to protect yourself just 1% from like people doxing you, like what would you come up with?
It took me 3 years to come up with reality-based.
Would you just call yourself
and
that?
reality-based is already the name of a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I hate fucking podcasts. Lore accurate.
All right, fair enough. And also for the record that Tom Cruise's actual name is Thomas Cruise Mapotha or Mapotha. I don't know how you pronounce it. The Fourth.
What?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can even get it up on screen for you if you want. Hold on.
That explains why he's so batshit crazy.
Hang on. And yeah. All right. Here you go. Wikipedia. Fucking hell. Don't trust Wikipedia about things, but
Ryan does. Ryan loves Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. There was an African samurai. You mean? Okay. Yes. Thomas Cruise. How do you pronounce that?
Mapotha.
Mapotha. Yeah. All right. The Fourth. The Fourth. Gentlemen, there you go. You don't get a lot of the Fourth.
So there have been 4 Tom Cruises, basically.
There have been 4 Thomas Cruise Mapothas, yeah.
Yeah, that's how he lives forever. That's how he lives forever. There've been 4 different versions of it.
We're still just clinging to the fact that Ncuti Gatwa's name is Misero. That's the part I really wanted everyone to take.
Misero Mapotha. That'd be a good name.
All right, so steering it back to Doctor Who then, and we've got the clickbait from this stream's title, Timeless Child Saves Doctor Who. Of course, it's not going to be that.
It's not clickbait. There's a question mark at the end.
It's pseudo clickbait because the answer is, of course, not remotely close to actually saving Doctor Who or even really doing anything important for Doctor Who. But it is kind of interesting for those of us who see the Timeless Child as absolute cancer to the Doctor Who canon, in that basically this article exists and they are effectively trying to say that it explains how there are no Time Lords in other dimensions.
What?
So the theory is that because the Timeless Child plotline required the young black girl that is definitely 100% the Doctor, guys, trust me, bro, I'm Chris Chibnall and I love Doctor Who. Because that girl came from another dimension, and this is harebrained as hell, by the way, and I'm sure we're going to rip it apart and be true nerds over this one, but according to the theory, the fact that there is only one of this little girl, and that this little girl went from one universe into another dimension, is why there are only Time Lords in the universe of Doctor Who and not in any other parallel universe, explaining why there's not, for example, a Doctor in Pete's world, for in the alternative universe of that Torchwood ends up opening a portal to through the rift. So what do we think? I mean, obviously this is complete bollocks, but I'd like to see what people
the
like
idea
Goldie
that there are no other Time Lords in other universes, that has been solidified in expanded material. Now, of course, we know that when it comes to the comics and even the Big Finish audio dramas, you kind of have to consider them. Well, you can take two approaches. Either they're just not canon, or they are canon until the show decanonizes them. Either way, loads of stuff in those, pieces of material that it never really plays into the show. If they wanted to change it, then at some point, then they just will. But this idea has floated about for quite a while.
But the whole thing
how the Timeless Child relates to it, I don't really see how that's got really anything to do with it. But this is just another case of what they've done is they've taken a question that's been asked amongst the fandom for years and years.
Why
and
is
years,
there
and
never
they've come up
another
with this,
Doctor? Yeah.
And then they've come up with this garbage story, and now they're trying to make excuses for, oh, well, it's a good thing that it exists because it ties into this, so it makes sense. It's just like how in the Impossible Planet Satan pit, the TARDIS made that funny noise. And it's because it probably could detect that it was close to the beast, the devil. But since Empire of Death, people have gone back and gone, oh, Russell planned it this entire time. That's why it made that funny noise, because it's actually Sutekh and he's reacting to it. No, it's got nothing to do with Sutekh. It wasn't this big plan. What he's done is he's created this garbage story and then said, oh, well, there was this instance here and I can recontextualize it, and then that will somehow absolve me from all this nonsense.
Yeah, basically this is a pathetic cop out attempt to.
But then that still wouldn't work because you've got the Doctor played by Joe Martin, who's somewhere, and then you've got all the other variants of the Doctors that are still technically alive. So,
and evidently, all of these are only in our universe.
And here's what pissed me off the most about Chris Chibnall is that he came in with this massive bombshell. The Doctor is the Timeless Child. Everything you've known is a lie, but he doesn't really explain it. So where does the fugitive Doctor come into it? Is it between 2 and 3, like people were theorizing? But then we had that whole thing in flux about the memory wiping and the, what was it, initiative? No, was that it? It was the I don't know, some name. They were doing a bunch of stuff. Where does that fit in? I don't really think it was ever really explained. That's what annoyed me the most about the Chibnall era, is that he came in with a massive bulldozer and just expected everyone else to pick up the pieces.
Well, 4 years after the Timeless Child, folks, and I didn't think Doctor Who could get any worse, but as Disney Who is dying, I think to myself, maybe this isn't the worst thing that has ever come out of Doctor Who.
Oh no, the worst is coming.
Disney Who.
Yeah, Disney Who is. I know Goldie, you hate the Whittaker era more, but I think you're probably, unfortunately, in the minority on that one because it's completely collapsed now. Like it just fell apart. This series, like no one cares anymore, and a lot of that is to do with the Whittaker era. But I think Timeless Child is the breaker of canon to such an extent.
I mean, the BBC
it still is probably.
I mean, the BBC, as we all know, were going to cancel Doctor Who after the Flux disaster, and then Disney came in with their rescue package. That's why I call it Disney Who. And Doctor Who was salvageable if they had cancelled it, then and there. But they didn't. This isn't salvageable any longer, and it's now essentially a walking corpse.
So what do you do about the Timeless Child?
Nothing. You can't do anything.
You do what the BBC did to Jimmy Savile. Just ignore it and hope it goes away.
But the Doctor is going to have to periodically explain a little bit of himself to people that he meets. It comes up quite often, especially in the modern series.
It's never going to be explained because Russell doesn't even know anything about it. I don't think that... I can't say definitively that he hasn't watched the Chibnall era. I can't say that. But what I know is all this stuff that we've seen. I don't think he did that. Well, he wrote all the stuff with the Timeless Children necessarily in mind and what it actually means. Because when we saw The Giggle and he did that audio commentary, there was a part where the toy maker's shop sort of folds up into a box, and that was similar to how Dan's house went at the start of Flux. And someone asked Russell about that, and he said, oh right, well, we actually did this episode, and then I went back and watched it and realized, oh, that's kind of similar to what we've done. So I'm just hoping the audience will go, oh, that's just a bit similar. So at the time when he wrote all this stuff, I don't think he fully had all the context behind the Timeless Child. And to be fair, I mean, he wouldn't have had if he had watched those episodes beforehand anyway, because as I mentioned, Chris Chibnall doesn't know. He just went, right, here you go, folks. A future writer can pick up the pieces, or maybe not, who cares? I'm out of it.
They just memory hole it. Don't acknowledge it. Just throw it down the memory hole.
So you wouldn't try to retcon it then?
No. It's too late.
Well,
I mean, like, let's say that you were paid to retcon it. What would you do?
Well, they never acknowledge our opposition. They never acknowledge their mistakes. They just move on. I mean, you could say Classic Who's a great example of this when that got cancelled. Of course, New Who, when it came along, initially it didn't really acknowledge its past until... Tooth and Claw, not Tooth and Claw, the other one, School Reunion. There we go. And then slowly but surely they recognized the legacy of Doctor Who as it was getting big under New Who. But for the most part, folks, you don't acknowledge past failures. The BBC certainly doesn't acknowledge past failures.
No, they don't. They don't acknowledge massive cover-ups either.
That's why they always cover up, and that's why they want to get rid of Hugh Edwards. That's why they want to memory hole him and memory hole Jimmy Savile and memory hole all the troublemakers and criminals that have been part of their company, because they don't want to acknowledge past failures. That's why if Disney Who dies in a ditch in 2025, maybe Doctor Who comes back in, I don't know, 2030, 2040, and they just don't acknowledge their past failings and go on, start afresh like it never happened.
Yeah, but let's say I became the showrunner of Doctor Who, and I, despite having my own ideas about how you go about it, I hired one of you to retcon the Timeless Child. What would you do?
I just shoot the brown child and say none of this matters.
One way you could...
You have to explain it in a way that can explain that it never happened and it's actually a lie. Like, how would you make that interesting for the viewer?
Oh, that's easy, because it goes back to the bit when the toy maker says, I made a jigsaw out of your past. That's how you start the episode. And then you could spend the episode, it would be a Doctor Light episode, but it'd be showing how the toy maker was able to mess with the Time Lord to the point where you had the Timeless Child, which really was just an illusion.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What do you think, Goldie? You're a writer. What do you reckon?
Well, if I had it my way, I would pick up right from Capaldi's regeneration and start from there and not acknowledge Jodie and all that stuff. But if I had to work within the constraints and confines of the Jodie Whittaker era and as a result of the Timeless Children, how I would retcon it. I mean, there's some ways to go about it. You know, I believe the 13th Doctor was shown all this history when she went into the Matrix. So you could say the Master hacked into it, he changed it, something like that. As Rev mentioned, could be something to do with the toy maker. You could show him playing about, and perhaps there's some meddling there, and you could have it so in a future episode he has to redo all of that. So it goes back to the original timeline of the Doctor comes back from Gallifrey, comes from Gallifrey again. You could say. And again, this is kind of a stereotypical retcon, but in the Capaldi era, you had the dream crabs. Perhaps the Doctor's been under a dream, has been in a dream state for long, but then you'd have to sort of retcon Jodie. They wouldn't be okay with that. Again, when we're talking about these sci-fi and fantasy franchises, there's lots of ways you can get around these issues. There'll be some sort of device that can explain it, or some being with some powers. You can have them retcon and change things about. It's really just the will of the writer, really. If they're going to, if they've got the balls. I didn't mean to do that, but I reckon.
Let's see what you did there. Go on,
it's literally a case of if they want it to be the case, then they can, because at the end of the day, the most powerful person in a story is basically the writer writing the story. And you know, this is why in comics and stuff, no one really dies, because you have Lazarus pits and you have all these things. So all I'm saying is any writer will be able to get rid of this by introducing some sort of device, or anything like that.
Oh, Doctor Who has been in a far better shape and been cancelled. Doctor Who in 1989 was in a far better state of affairs than it was, say, in 2020, from my perspective. And I think the greatest flaw that this show has is that, well, it just keeps on going. Now, usually I'm in favor of, keep on going, keep on growing, but everything has its time to shine. Everything fades
you wouldn't
away.
say that to cancel, would you?
Well, poor Dobby. But in all seriousness, in regards to the state of Doctor Who, it needs to die. If it's going to have a future,
it does now.
Making it.
I guess. Go on, Rev.
But it's like most really good TV shows, it comes to a point where the hell do we go from here? Because if we keep on going, I think there comes a point where you just run out of legit cool ideas. I mean, there is an easy way to retcon it without guessing. You could have an effective time split, which would explain the flux, because Jodie Whittaker's time was never meant to happen. Because it still happened, you could explain it. You could even bring back the Guardians, because you could go to the episode with Tom Baker, the Time Key. So the Time Key, which both the Black Guardian and the White Guardian were after, you could say, okay, from that, Jodie Whittaker, the flux was created because the Guardians were testing the timelines. And then you could have Jodie Whittaker's timeline naturally ends because she never existed, because Capaldi didn't exactly regenerate. So then we go back to that moment where Capaldi does regenerate and time is fixed. Something like that.
Well, as you just sort of brought up, Rev, the show is always constantly retconning and finding ways to get around certain superpowered beings and devices, like the time key, for example, and how if you get the key to time, then you can control all of time and everything in the universe. But that wouldn't really fit with what Chibnall established with, remember, there's that planet Time where there's those 6 black women who control all of time. Like, how does that fit into the key to time? It doesn't really work. That makes no sense. So again, you can just introduce things like that to get around it. But it's a very sticky situation that the show's in. It's funny because, as Ryan said, you keep on going, you keep on growing. This show keeps on going and keeps on fucking planting to the ground, So, there are many ways to get around it, but the most vital part of it is not figuring out how do you get around it? It's who's going to do that, and are there intentions to get around this issue? Which, as long as it's in the hands of the BBC and Disney, it's not going to be the case. There's not going to be anyone that they're going to find who wants to do that, and they're not going to go out with the mission to find someone who
they're not looking.
Zack Snyder creates Doctor Who. It's simply Star Trek.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No, each episode will be 2 hours long, and it'll be in slow motion.
In 4:3. Fuck's sake.
And then all the season will come out, and you'll be like, oh, we got to wait till the Christmas special. No, folks, because you may have watched this season, but this is not the true season. You're going to see the season 1 director's cut.
Every episode is 3 hours long.
Yeah.
All their costumes have been digitally altered. All right.
And then Davros reappears and goes, Doctor, I am your father.
Yeah, why not? That's all he does.
I hate Zack Snyder.
I'm fucking sick of him as well.
I'm sick and tired of all these bloody movies where it's like, I watch a movie and I'm like, okay, that was an alright movie. Let's move on to the next one. No, you only saw the theatrical version. Now you need to watch the director's version, the producer's version, the extended version. Just give me a fucking movie to watch. I don't want to watch all these different versions.
Which Blade Runner is canon?
Have you ever watched Alexander, Goldie? There are like 4 or 5 different versions of that film.
Oh God.
No, I mean, I've said it before. So just quickly, if I had to go back and I could retcon anything, I would retcon everything since Heaven Sent. Literally, when he punches through the diamond wall and he escapes, I'd go back to that moment. And,
that's actually a fair. I respect that.
I think that's the best possible time to do it because you can get Capaldi back. He's still alive, and I'm sure you could get him back to fix this. You don't have to announce.
He still looks the same.
But behind closed doors, you'd be like, "All right, we're going to sort this fucking mess out. Are you all right to come back for one?" And he'd be like, "Oh yes, please." And so you get Capaldi back, and yeah, he looks a little older than he did when he regenerated, but you could write into that he was, aging. Or he's now going to catch up with the age that he experienced in the confession dial, even though I know he was technically killed and reborn every single time. But whatever, you just say, oh, he was never actually free of it, and all of that was a nightmare, and now he's finally out of it, and the timeless child never happened, the flux never happened, Ncuti never happened, he never became Tenant again, nothing of that happened. There's no such thing as bi-generation, It's all bollocks. It's all bollocks.
We should redo the Key to Time arc, where Ryan plays the White Guardian and Atreus plays the Black Guardian.
Sweet.
Not giving a black man the keys to time. Jesus Christ, that would be a fate worse than death.
Why? Because he'll put like hydraulics in it or something.
No, literally, all of world history and all of creation will be just a fantasy version of Wakanda.
Oh God, Wakanda is already a fantasy version.
Yeah, but an even bigger fantasy, mainly because most of
you think you could get more fantastic than a super advanced civilization hidden in the third world?
Yeah,
that gatekeeps the rest of the world and has done for hundreds of years.
Yes.
Yeah, Bombay.
Millions of years. I can't remember the fucking canon of that movie. Screw it.
Reality-based Wakanda.
I don't know. I don't know how much more fantastic you could get. But go on.
Who on this panel watched Flux?
Nope.
No. I have only seen a few.
Did you see Flux?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Remember that one guy who looks like Killmonger? That his costume was literally Killmonger's costume. Remember that guy? What's his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you that picture. Will
was there another character with like a bunch of dreadlocks, but only on the top of his head and the rest of it?
Yeah,
there's like every single black person. Every black character now has to look exactly like Killmonger, even with the Acolyte guy, the guy who fucked up that Luke blew up the Death Star, not Anakin. He played the useless Jedi. I can't even think of his bloody name. I still haven't finished reviewing that stupid show. I don't know if I ever will. Yeah, but he had the same damn haircut. He had a pile of dreads on the top of his head, slightly off to the side, and then short back and sides. And it's just like, okay, so if Hitler had been African, this is what people would have looked like. So there you go. Anyway, shite. And that is probably enough of that. But yeah, so this doesn't save Doctor Who. Sorry if you think that's clickbait. It probably is. No, it's just effectively trying to explain why the Time Lords and indeed the Doctor only exist in one universe. But I also think that's a cop-out in another way, because who's to say that if you accept little strange black interdimensional girl, that there aren't dozens of her, each one walking from one parallel universe into another? How many parallel universes are there? There could be plenty.
Yeah,
there still could be Time Lords, so it's made no difference whatsoever.
Yeah, and one plot hole with that theory that there's only one universe with Time Lords is that, well, all the other universes must be fucking Dalek then.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
right.
if you're gonna take those like rules, it gets messy, because in Journey's End you have the reality bomb, which supposedly would have wiped out the entire universe. But if the multiverse is to exist within the Doctor Who universe, then there must be a universe out there where the Daleks succeeded in that mission and set off the reality bomb, which destroyed the multiverse. So yeah, there's a lot of it's a lot of skewy
that's why the
rules there.
multiverse is wank. Wanker multiverse. Wanker.
Jesus Christ. True. Anyway, so there you go. Any final thoughts about the potential for...
I just figured it out. So
go on, mate.
They're going to retcon it by having the Acolyte season 2 with May and Osha coming back together, which creates Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, who then gets killed by a randomly roaming Dalek who is on the run from the Cybermen, who is on the run from the Master. Therefore, Doctor Who ends in a big orgy of violence.
That would be
imagine
really
that.
ironic
Imagine in
ending.
season 2 of the Acolyte, Plagueis comes out of that cave and gets one of those twins, throws it through a portal, and it turns out to be the Doctor.
Oh my God.
No,
How
the
many more
Doctor will appear
crossovers do we
going,
need?
pumpkin spice latte. What was it? Pumpkin spice latte.
Oh no.
No!
Would you like
Go away!
Would you like
off.
a ham and cheese toasty or a pumpkin latte?
You do realize that
in the sea.
You do realize, because Disney has fingers in all of these pies, that this is
All
technically
possible.
possible.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
And then Darth
There is-
And
Vader's like,
Deadpool comes along and kills everyone. There's one fourth wall I want you to break.
Well, we don't even
I
know
would-
if this
I
is
would-
getting a season 3.
I'd be up for that though, if that happened. If Deadpool just jumped through and started killing everybody, that would just be funny as hell. Especially because the Doctor would be like protesting the entire time, like, stop using guns, you know?
No,
I don't
Deadpool
know.
would pull a gun on him and he'd just cry.
Oh, you mean the shoot you get with Doctor? I was picturing Tennant when I said that, but oh well, yeah, there you go. Anyway, we have another job to do in a few minutes. I'm just collating the episodes, and that would be our weekly ranking. This week it is going to be season 3. Oh dear.
It's probably the easiest season to separate between absolute bangers and absolute wank.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm frequently surprised by what this panel comes out with, especially when Grant's around. So I actually
Series
want to just double
4
check in case he left us.
Series 4 is going to be bloody impossible. Okay, Series 3 is going to be much easier to cover than Series 4. So,
right, yeah. Oh, I think so. Yeah, I mean, so far we've basically had Series 1, which we all pretty much like. I think most people agree that Eccleston was wasted, or not wasted, but didn't get enough. Then Series 2, which was, you know, touch and go. Actually, it's not. There were lots of things that I remember much more fond, or used to remember much more fondly than is fair, because they were actually a lot worse about season 2. And I've been surprised actually by what we've ended up with as the rankings. Like, I probably alone wouldn't have put Girl in the Fireplace at number 1, but that would have been because I would have automatically gravitated to one of the real tentpole episodes personally, but that's just the way I think. So I'm really enjoying what we do here, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. Series 3, Series 3 is not remembered as fondly now, but I think when it first came out, it was considered, you know, to be the best. But then that's just hypnosis, of course, isn't it? Which always happens. So
all of
do you have
these
anything?
series, all of these series built on top of each other so well, from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, then to the specials, and then it with the end of time just was the cherry on top of the cake. But looking back, folks, there are quite a few stinkers throughout that era, but you know, that's the power of the hype train, man. Keep on going, keep on growing, and then put that cherry on the top, fuck off, and let someone else run the reins for a while.
Because the truth is reality based.
Exactly.
Yeah, fair enough. I did almost forget, but have remembered that before we start going down the ranking rabbit hole, I need to shout out a couple of people. The first of which is Andy Radot, who has become a member all by himself, and not just a member, but a member at the I see what you did there level. So thank you very much. Then I also have Eris Rhoda, who has already done a super chat of a substantial amount in this very stream, going even further and gifting 5 Will of the Fans memberships. Thank you very much. Paying for my daughter's college tuition there. Look at that now. And you lucky people, of course. So with that said, and thank you very much to everybody so far. Your support is much appreciated. I did just fork out a lot for a wedding. So we will get on and start our ranking of Series 3. Yeah, this one is a little divisive, I guess, because a lot of people really love it. I still... Until we started talking, till we started this show, I still kind of blind. It's been a while since I've watched most of these. Still kind of blindly thought, oh yeah, the RTD era was much better than blah blah blah, 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 you know. And actually, in reflecting on these episodes with you guys, I'm coming up with new opinions, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this in the first place. So there we go. We have got 14 again, I believe. Yep. Including the Runaway Bride, and we have got to rank them from worst to best, 14th to first. Where the hell do we start with this?
We start with 42.
42 or the Lazarus Experiment?
No, 42. Literally the worst episode of Doctor Who I've ever seen.
Okay.
Ain't even close.
I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen
Worse
it.
than Ncuti shit?
I dare say so, yeah.
Really?
No.
Isn't this burn with me? I didn't.
The cast of characters were not compelling.
No, I don't hate this.
The idea of 42 is a bit too on the nose, and I think it was really
it's the runtime of the episode. You mean
that too? And the fact that this episode ensured that Chris Chinballs stayed in the Torchwood division, where he couldn't wreak havoc on Doctor Who.
Right.
This was an episode where when the script came in, they had to do a bunch of rewrites on it, and Russell made that clear and confidential because, well, I mean, it's Chibnall.
It also made absolutely no bloody sense. It was kind of
it's the model. It is the model episode of the Chinball era, which is why I consider it to be one of the worst episodes of Doctor Who that I have ever seen.
Because before you go into a complete breakdown about it, because I do want you to kind of refresh my memory. I haven't watched it for a long time. You guys in the chat, let us know what you think as well all the way through this. Just please do. It's all very valuable, and you're part of the show as well. So there you go. So Ryan, 42. That's the one with the sun thing, right? They keep
basically the mining ship. The mining ship is basically going towards the sun. They have 42 minutes before they get engulfed by the sun.
They're going to crash into the sun. Yeah.
And they have to try and get to the bridge and get past all the security codes. And at the same time, this, for lack of a better word, heat being or sun being that's trying to go back into the sun is trying to stop them and possesses people, also possesses the Doctor for a period as well. It has all the right pieces, but the cast of characters are not compelling. in a sense, it baits the death of Martha Jones, and it just doesn't work because it's near the middle of the fucking run. You're not going to get rid of a companion in the middle of a show, and it's all the right pieces in all the wrong order, which is Chris Chinballs to a T. This is the same man who made a sex episode for the first season of Torchwood, which was also an unmitigated disaster.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So for me, it's
sex monster.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's easily the worst episode. I don't mind the Lazarus Experiment. It's dated incredibly
I
bad.
hated that from the minute I first saw it. I don't like Gatiss' writing. Yeah,
There's no
fair enough.
episode in the season that I hate.
Really?
For me, it really is just
42 is just boring and forgettable. There's nothing that makes me go. Argh.
The ones that I've heard throughout all of the time that I've been aware of season 3 have been this, these two, and Gridlock, which I think is extremely unfair because I like Gridlock a lot.
I like Gridlock. I would actually put in third place for like the worst episode, Last of the Time Lords, because I mean the build-up is amazing. Utopia, great. Sound of Drums, great. And then Last of the Time Lords, fucking the 10th Doctor becomes God. He starts floating in the air. He has this magical force field around him. Like, what the fuck?
All right, we'll get to it.
It shows how. No, but I'm just saying it shows, and you'll see a pattern here. How a lot of the finales in Doctor Who, I know Parting of the Way, an exception, but a lot of the finales in Doctor Who, they've always not really stuck the landing.
Yeah, I think we are going to see that more and more as a through line of Russell. And this is one of the reasons, again, the other reason I wanted to do this was because it is Russell. It's the RTD era at the beginning. And I wanted to see how we feel about that with the benefit of hindsight now with what he's actually doing with more control than he's ever had.
Just notice the patterns, though, folks, between the tier lists of Series 1 and Series 2, because there is something in common, and you'll see this with Series 3. The weakest episodes tend to be in the present day or in the past.
Well, Long Game is in the future, isn't it?
Yes, that is true. Although
But
you can say...
Aliens of London, I'm quite dead, yeah.
Well, you can also say
No,
that
but Idiot's Lantern is amazing, and you guys are controlled opposition, so that's why you put it at the bottom.
No, it's just kind of boring, mate.
What?
No, it's not. It's great.
Yes.
Rewatch it, I dare you.
I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying it's not as it's not as good as Tooth and Claw.
Excuse me, I am talking, and I ain't listening.
I mean, from my perspective,
it's cringe.
No,
what are you
it's
talking about?
It's like
it's like Ryan.
It's like every other celebrity historical. Against other episodes of Doctor Who, it's a bit meh, but compared to what we get today, it's perfectly great. But to me, 14 would be 42, 13 would be the Lazarus Experiment, and despite the fact I like the episode tremendously personally, I'd put the Shakespeare Code at number 12 because it is a dated episode.
All right, so are we going with 42 as the absolute worst? I guess I'll yield that, but then Lazarus is next because that is trash.
Yeah,
that is absolute trash.
No, it's not. It's great.
Lazarus Experiment. What is going on with my spreadsheet? Give me a second here to organize
the
myself.
Lazarus Experiment is a very good episode.
It
explores a lot of great
trash.
things.
It is one of the most dated examples. Compared even to the celebrity
Ryan, you're
historical,
fucking dated.
The Lazarus Experiment is the most dated Doctor Who episode. Period. In New Who.
I more or less agree. It's
Ryan,
cringe.
you're the complete
It's
opposite of the Lazarus Experiment. The Lazarus Experiment is about a guy who
Trying to
is
become
very
young.
old and looks young, and you're a guy who's young and looks old.
He's only 25.
My point still stands, Goalie.
The Lazarus Experiment is a great episode. It
You can
explores
attack
why
me personally
life is precious.
all you want. You can attack me personally all you want. My point still stands. It's one of the most dated episodes of New Who.
What do you mean you can attack me all you want? The past fucking 3 weeks you've been so gay the entire time.
At least I show myself.
Ooh,
That's right into it right there. Yeah, Goldie, we want to see.
Can I actually explain my point? I was going to say the Lazarus Experiment is a great episode that explores how life is very precious, time is limited, and you must use your time to the fullest. It's a great episode. It's a great message. What's bad about it? Yeah, it's a little bit like, like a bit like sort of generic and, a bit, what's the word?
Dated.
No, just it may be a little bit silly in places, but I appreciate it.
I've never liked Mark Gatiss as a writer, like ever.
The cast of characters to me were not compelling. The CGI was utterly awful. The chase scenes were complete wank for the most part, and the whole idea is, well, from a reality-based perspective, fucking crazy. I know it has some weight to it towards the end of Series 3 with the Master bottling up the technology. But the point of it is, as an episode on its own, it really doesn't work.
I mean, I hate the characters. I hate the performance. I hate the story. I just don't like Mark Gatiss, really, at all. I thought League of Gentlemen was okay, but he had no business writing for Doctor Who. It's just campy and stupid. And
I think he's a good writer. He's not a good actor.
I think he's a better actor than a writer.
Well, to me, Mark Gatiss would have been a better showrunner for Doctor Who than Chris Chinballs, because then it would have just been celebrity historicals.
Oh, absolutely. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I 100% agree that I would watch an entire series written by Mark Gatiss before I'd watch another episode by Chibnall or even RTD at this point. But me and my friends used to refer to Gatiss as the great blight demon of Doctor Who, because every episode he wrote made us want to pull our hair out with boredom. It was all either cringe, campy cliches, or just some way for him to get an acting credit.
It's very interesting, this series, folks, because the amount of writers who wrote particular episodes, 42 Chris Chinballs, Lazarus Experiment Mark Gatiss, Shakespeare Code Gareth Roberts, who got fucking purged from Doctor Who because he's accused of being transphobic, who is now, talking to content creators like us about the state of Doctor Who. He recently talked to Peter Pishk, who I've had on Reality Base. You've got 3 different writers representing 3 different perspectives of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
They're all quite dated and poor episodes on their own. But as someone who quite enjoys the Shakespeare Code, even I recognize that you couldn't make an episode like that today.
No,
really couldn't.
Because, it's a bit predictable, right? Hey, guess what? We're going to have Shakespeare. Now, what is Shakespeare kind of... Oh, yeah, the 3 witches. We'll just put them in an episode. What could possibly go wrong? And it's like... Yeah, but the Lazarus, no, that's a shit episode. I'm sorry, it was.
Oh, I just looked because someone said it in the chat. Lazarus Experiment was not written by Gatiss.
Wasn't he?
Oh.
No.
Oh, well then, damn.
It was written by, hold on.
Stephen Greenhorn or something like that.
Yeah, Stephen Greenhorn.
Is that a fucking pen name?
Well, then we all look like twats right now. Sorry, folks. Oh well. Never mind.
I don't. Might as well praising it.
Might as well own it at least.
It's like if Matt Jones.
I don't have to own anything.
It's like Matt
shut
Jones.
up, Goldie. The episode's going at number 13. There's nothing you can do about it.
I mean, it's 3-1, folks. But in all honesty, Matt Jones wrote Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit, and we never fucking heard from him again. The same is true of Mr. Greenhorn.
So the next one is Shakespeare Code, because that was just Shakespeare, we're gonna have witches.
It's a great.
So I quite like the Shakespeare Code. I'm not gonna lie.
So do I. But I recognize that in comparison of all the other episodes we have, that against them.
Yeah, I can't really. But I mean, Daleks in Manhattan and the evolution of the Daleks.
The Dalek two-parter,
pretty shockingly bad stuff,
is the worst two-parter of
all the two-parters of the RTD era.
The Shakespeare Code is an episode that probably haunts RTD and Tennant because it has that whole praise of JK and Harry Potter in it.
And
that's the only reason,
of political correctness. Yeah.
When I first saw that, I had never read or seen anything Harry Potter, so that was completely lost on me.
They're
I think I was one of those arrogant Lord of the Rings fans who was like, "How dare they release Harry Potter at the same time as Lord of the Rings?" So
did you know that there was supposed to be an episode which was going to kind of cross over with Harry Potter? So they were going to have an episode where like the villain would allow you to get into people's heads and things like that. So the Doctor and his companion would get inside the mind of JK and they'd see her inventions and you'd see a brief Harry Potter cameo or something.
Oh no.
That was
what
was
would they
planned,
put in there if
but I
they
don't
wrote
know how
that
far
now?
that
What
went.
would they have in there now? A bunch of TQ plus people hanging.
They should send Rose Noble into JK's mind.
Oh my god. No, there'd be no coming back from that.
I'd rather be in J.K. Rowling's mind than J.J. Abrams. It's just
all right. So effectively, at this point, we, for the record, I actually
find yourself
don't
locked
think
in a
there's
mystery
anything-
box.
I don't think there's anything wrong at all with praising J.K. Rowling's ability to create words, and especially since they created the Carianites, the witches that
the one-off
they
people.
use power in words and stuff like that, and it has that little bit where they bring up Rose by reading his mind, the Doctor's mind, and it brings up Rose, and he's like, "Oh well, you messed up now because that makes me stronger or keeps me fighting." You know, you can't.
That's
break
the
me with
aspect
that
of this
word.
season which really brings it down, and what really makes Martha an underrated companion. Well, not underrated, she's kind of underused, because you have the 10th Doctor moping about, oh, Rose. Oh,
The
piss
whole
off.
time,
Move
whenever
on,
they're
man.
alone, it's about Rose, isn't it? Yeah. That is a pain in the ass. I think when I was younger, as a younger man, I probably responded to that because you're young.
Yeah.
having different
It's not really in
girlfriends,
tune with the
breakups
character
hurt.
of the Doctor, though.
Nah, it's more relatable to a 20-something, which I was when I first saw it. So yeah, I can see that. But now, I don't know. If I watched it, I'd probably. I still think the guy who played Shakespeare was pretty damn good, and I thought it was an interesting touch to have Shakespeare not be a baldy wearing the collar, until later, because he would be a younger guy at one point.
Martha from Fredonia.
Yeah, Blackamoor, he calls her at one point.
And that's one of the reasons why
I think
really
that's so old I can actually say it on YouTube without getting demonetized.
Well, that's why I fundamentally enjoy the Shakespeare Code as an episode, because it would never be made today.
No.
Gareth Roberts would never be considered a Doctor Who writer today. And it just goes to show what might have been for Doctor Who if it was a bit more based in its nature. But compared to all the other episodes that we've got to talk about and cover, to me it is the weakest. I understand the two-parter, it is the weakest. It's also set in the past, which also puts it on the back foot.
Yeah, it's another historical kind of.
Yeah,
and it features Andrew Garfield.
Well,
it's kind of like a hybrid between a historical and what happens when we bring the witches in. It's kind of a mixed bag, but it just doesn't kind of misses.
I guess if I had to pick, I would prefer to keep. If I had to delete one of these stories, the Daleks in Manhattan is a little better. And the only reason I say that is because even though it doesn't do a great job of it, it does explore the idea that a Dalek, who is part of the Skaro, the special group, I can't think what their name is.
Cult of Skaro.
The Cult of Skaro, yeah. That they're the unique Daleks that have been designed to think beyond just genocide, and instead they want to explore alternate futuristic scenarios for the species to improve itself. So that I found that interesting.
People.
Fusing with a human, it was a great idea when he came out, and it was just a guy wearing a latex.
Yeah, it also got
face with one
spoiled.
big eye.
Yeah, the Radio Times spoiled it. And one thing I've noticed...
The trailer spoiled it, didn't it? At the end of the very episode that it was cutting at the end of... It cuts when he goes into the Dalek.
Can we just have Dalek stories that don't have Dalek in the title? Can we actually have a surprise for when they turn up?
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah,
also like Rise of the Cybermen, they spoiled that in the title.
Yeah, they totally
and
did,
Dalek,
yeah.
they spoiled that.
Yeah, I think Age of Steel would have been better as the name
Of
the first episode. Yeah,
and then call it Rise of the Cybermen.
Yeah. Or they could have called it like the next stage of humanity or something like that. You know,
Human Point 2.
Yeah, you know, like the sort of the lines that were actually in the episode. You know, it's not like John Lumick ever sits and says, "This is the rise of the Cybermen." No.
It's very strange how after he gets converted, he calls himself a Cyberman. It's like, dude, you didn't come up with that term.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Oh, whatever. We have to get through a lot more crap. We've only got 20 minutes to do it. So, I guess Shakespeare Code is next then.
Yep.
Yeah. By processing.
The Dalek two-parter gave us one of Murray Gold's best pieces. You know, "The Angel Put the Devil in Me." I love that song.
I hate that song. As a person who
I
was
love
raised
it.
on
It's
tradition-
great.
As a person who was raised by a jazz musician and was raised on jazz, that is completely inauthentic.
Goldie loves the theater, doesn't he?
I hated that song. I thought it was nice. I thought it was nice that they tried to do something big band and a bit of that kind of era, but it felt so generic that it would never have been a hit. In
Although I really hate that woman's fake American accent. Laszlo. Oh, shut up.
Yeah. Laszlo. Yeah. Yeah, she was terrible. But she's supposed to be playing like, it's supposed to be like a Brooklyn, Bronx accent, something like that.
Yeah,
they had the most annoying accents, and I used to live in New York. Those are not New York accents. It's like, "Hey, I'm gonna talk with my biggest accent." It's like,
I will say though that the Daleks are a far more compelling villain than, say, a not what the fuck
pigs
thing,
human pig monsters.
Yeah, well, the pig thing, I wasn't thinking about them. It's not Vest before. That's the wasp creature. What was that? Plasmavore. Yes, the Jadoon and the Plasmavore.
Yeah.
The Daleks are a far better villain than the
Are we saying that
boring, in my
Are we
opinion.
saying that Smith and Jones is now up for contention this early? Because I like
Smith and Jones is a great episode. I love
that. Was the first episode I ever saw. My friend showed it. We were in college, and we had to do focus groups of each other's sort of favorite stuff, and I had them all playing Zelda. And he had us watch Smith and Jones, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be." So I'm going to go home and watch all of modern Doctor Who, and that's how I started.
I just find it very strange that throughout our reviews of each of the series so far, we tend to ignore the first one. For some reason, with Rose, with New Earth, and now with Smith and Jones, I seem to be the one bringing it up because we kind of.
You do, yeah. I think it's because most of us have like a rose tint for the first episode of a series because it usually is a banger. Yeah, in this case, I don't know. What do we think of Smith and Jones?
It was.
I love it.
It was again. I'm not really reliable on this because it was my first.
The Dalek two-part goes next. We need to put those two.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing.
I'm inclined to agree. So then, what of them is worse? Part 1 or 2?
Part 2 is worse, just because it's one of those things again where New Who, they set up this big invasion and then it doesn't go anywhere and just stops. Usually it's the second part is well, actually no, well, in some cases the second part is better because the first part is just build up and nothing really happens. But I appreciate how the first part goes more into the historical setting and you actually feel immersed in that environment, whereas part 2 just feels a bit like
I think
a bunch of
the
techno
ending was
blabble.
okay, wasn't it? The ending where the Daleks turn on the new Dalek and kill him because he's which one is he? Is he Dalek Thay?
No,
they have names.
And
I thought Dalek Sek was.
Yeah,
I thought Dalek. Oh yeah, Dalek Sek. Yeah, what's the one that ends up surviving the whole thing and goes insane? Dalek Khan. Yeah. All right, so Dalek Thay goes and becomes a human Dalek, and
they turn on him.
The accent is unbearable because he's doing an American accent, but also trying to sound like a Dalek at the same time, and it's like, so he's like, "I am a human Dalek." And it's what are you doing, man? No, it would have been better if they just used the Dalek voice.
Imagine if when that Dalek case opened, it was Shooty Gatsman. It's like, would you like a ham and cheese toasty or a pumpkin latte?
There's a meme in there somewhere that I don't have time to make, and I wish I did.
Dear.
Number of times something stupid gets revealed in Doctor Who, and it turns out to just be fucking Shooty Gatwan with a tray. Bastard.
Get the belt.
Get out of our entertainment. Okay, so I guess then now we've got rid of them. So yeah, what could be?
Well, it would not be a good idea for Shooty Gatsman to go in the sea, because as Rings of Power told us, you're most likely to come across bloody Sauron by random.
Okay, folks, I really do think that we need to, alongside Smith and Jones, put in Last of the Time Lords, and again, we're ignoring Runaway Bride for some reason.
Yeah, let's bring up Runaway Bride. Runaway Bride, I remember not really liking it that much. I thought it was okay.
Good, solid story. Okay, compelling characters, especially with Donna and her family. Piss poor fucking villain.
Oh, the
I would put Last of the Time Lords and then Runaway Bride.
You'd put Last of the Time Lords as 9th?
Yep.
I mean, under Smith and Jones, yeah? Okay. I mean,
Smith and Jones.
Smith and Jones is great.
Villain's not compelling.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't get. There are some moments of Last of the Time Lords. There are some. Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous.
A blood-sucking vampire.
The only thing people care about in Last of the Time Lords is the final 5 minutes where the Master dies and he burns his body. No one cares about Martha, going over the mountains and finding the ball things and opening that up. No one cares.
Key. I forgot about the Osterhagen key. Yeah, the key.
No, I think that's in Journey's End. That's in Journey's End.
No.
Is it? Oh yeah.
So
Martha actually is. Oh yes, you're right. Yeah, she goes off on her own in that one. So
yeah, and that's where she comes across the Daleks. They're speaking German for some reason.
It's the Exterminierung. Yeah, there isn't.
No, what she's doing is she's going around the world and she's spreading the word of the Doctor.
Under the guise that she's going to look for 3 or 4 or something ingredients that she can load into a gun and shoot at the Master or inject him with that will kill him. But in fact, she's spreading the gospel of the Doctor. I mean, I understand
this massive beam and he floats and he's got this force field.
Well,
the fact that he turns into a gremlin first because he gets aged so exponentially is, I thought that was kind of weird. But
Last of the Time Lords as an episode really develops the character of Martha Jones, and if you adore her as a character, and if you see her as a criminally underrated character, then the episode that really builds her up into a character of her own is Last of the Time Lords.
Yeah, too little too late though, because I don't think she's a good character. I mean, I'm sure she could have been, but like they wasted her so criminally.
Well, Ryan, I would argue that Last of the Time Lords doesn't. It shows her as a capable character, but she goes from being nothing, and then there's a massive time jump, and then she's everything, and she knows how to do stuff. So we don't really see that progression. As soon as Last of the Time Lords starts, and it's a year's gone or whatever, she's already equipped and knows all this stuff. So I don't really see the intrigue in watching her in that episode. I love the character, but
the ending is crap. The way that it gets, like the Doctor, he explains that he has had a whole year to tap into latent human telepathy or something. Like
the most memeable moment comes after that when the Master goes, "You can't do this. You can't do it. It's not fair." And the Doctor, you know what happens now, and he floats towards him. There are many things I've thought of that could be put in there.
Oh yeah, you could have some terrible things going there, but the fact that he just goes from being little gremlin Doctor to
Space
Jesus,
a
complete waste of CGI, by the way, to Space Jesus, Space Jesus floating, and then of course he goes full Jesus and forgives the Master and gives him a hug, which I actually like that. I like that if it had been done differently, if he'd beaten him in some actual practical way, some scientific way. that wasn't space magic.
The master in New Who is too much like the Joker. He's all like,
I like it.
Just like I prefer how classic Who portrayed the Master, which is more like a James Bond villain compared to New Who, where he's just screaming and shouting and playing all these pop songs.
Yeah,
so it's not the Master.
Oh, I hated the pop music. That was weird. That was weird.
Here come the drums. Here come the drums, baby, baby.
I think Series 3 is a great example of great show in its time, for 2007, but a lot of it dates it.
I think you're right. I think Last of the Time Lords is actually that shit. Yeah.
And the very way the Master
the problem is, it's not. It stands up as a Doctor Who episode, like against almost a lot of other modern Who, but this season has these other episodes in it which are far, far better.
Yeah, the thing about
they're the creme de la creme, some of them, So.
As I said before, with Series 3, it's one of the easiest series to separate between absolute triumphs and absolute stinkers.
And then the other thing
there's no average episode.
We're in the middle now, and it gets hard. This ranking gets harder and harder as we go through it.
The stupid thing with Last of the Time Lords is, okay, so a Time Lord can refuse to regenerate, because when the Master gets shot, he's like, oh, it's just a little bullet, just regenerate. And it's like, okay. That brings the whole question in. If Ncuti Gatwa gets mortally injured, can he just tell himself not to regenerate? The Doctor died, finally.
He refused to regenerate, yeah. That was a bit weird, actually.
Because remember, he gets shot by his wife, and then the Doctor's like, hey, come on, it's just a little bullet. You can
regenerate. I mean, that last few minutes of where he hugs him and he cries, and I wasn't sure that like framing them as best friends and stuff was kind of strange as well. But oh well. And he did lack a kind of over the top pantomime-ish kind of quality that previous Masters had. But I for the record, I like John Sims' Master in Sound of Drums anyway. I like
John Smith's Master, how he was in what was it? The Doctor Falls. That's how he should have been in Russell's era, and he would have been much better.
Yeah, he was much better then. It took 3 attempts to get John Sims' Master perfect, but I do like the idea of him becoming Prime Minister. Anyway, what's next? Number 8. We have still got The Runaway Bride, Smith and Jones.
I think it's Smith and Jones.
Maybe Gridlock, I guess, are the contenders now.
I would say, here's how I would put it. I would say Runaway Bride, Gridlock, Smith and Jones, Utopia. We still got Sound of Drums. We still got Sound of Drums. So I would go Runaway Bride, Gridlock, Sound of Drums, Smith and Jones, Utopia, Human Nature, Family. Oh wait, no. Blink, Human Nature, Family of Blood.
I think Smith and Jones is the only reason why I'd go for that next. Is okay, it was interesting, but the villain was a bit like meh. Oh yeah, it's a blood-sucking woman.
I mean, vampire. What about Gridlock? I mean, Gridlock works for me because it really captures that kind of shit can go really wrong when you're in time traveling, and like before you know it, your companion has been dragged away and you don't know why or what the hell, and you've got to go through these ridiculous, arduous things. And I love the fact that it plays up on a traffic jam being the most frustrating thing about pretty much anybody's life, and then make it so that that's your entire life. You spend your entire life. Some people are born and die in this traffic jam because they're captured in it, and I think that's pretty fantastic. I mean, it makes a lot of noise about pollution. It does kind of wreck the macra by devolving them, but that I guess it's explained well enough.
Gridlock is the only episode in Series 3 that has aged incredibly well.
It's aged better. People didn't like it when it first came out.
No, because for its time, it was a complete fucking stupid idea. But in 2020, lockdowns, pandemic, great example of that kind of situation.
Yeah, they were locked down, weren't they? They were locked in the traffic jam to survive a deadly virus. Yeah,
I will say New York looks New York looked so much like Coruscant from the prequels, I do have to say.
It does a bit. Just a lot more blue. That's all I can say to that. But yeah, okay. But I think Gridlock is better than Smith and Jones.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Smith and Jones is better than the Runaway Bride, I guess. The only reason Runaway Bride matters at all at this point is because it introduces Donna and it establishes the anchor point for turn left later.
And then you have all those what?
Yeah.
Runaway Bride was the first episode where we hear Gallifrey. I don't think the Doctor brought up the planet's name prior to that. Remember, the Rachnos says, "Where do you come from?" And he says, "My planet is long but gone, but its name lives on, Gallifrey." And I think that's where we heard it for the first time. But one scene in the Runaway Bride, which I do love, is the whole the scene where the Doctor chases Donna in the taxi. And to be fair, that CGI has held up pretty well.
Yeah.
You have a moving TARDIS in motion. Yeah.
That probably was the reason why RTE
Although it was the first instance of the TARDIS just flying around like in the middle of London, like flying, as opposed to.
The Doctor appears going, "Show me the loving."
Oh God, no! Please, no.
And you wonder why
like ham and cheese toasty or a pumpkin latte?
All right, so Smith and Jones or Runaway Bride or Gridlock?
Smith and Jones.
Yeah.
And then Runaway Bride, and then Gridlock.
Okay. Yeah. Smith and Jones is good. It establishes it's a good entry point. I can attest to that. Because
it's just the villain is a little bit.
But the villain is ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a vampire.
Yeah.
Who needs a straw? Okay. If you're
and the bait and switch, like, oh, he kissed her for a genetic transfer.
Yeah. Also, the those men with the motorcycle helmets on.
Yeah. So then I guess it really has to be Gridlock, which has aged very well. So fair enough. I guess that is a strange one. I would never have thought Gridlock would get so high, but it has. Yeah.
It's only, I dare say, I know this sounds crazy, but I dare say it'll get higher as time goes on because it really was a prophetic episode for the circumstances we recently went through. That's why it's gone up this list so much.
But before Russell wrote 73 Yards, he said that Gridlock, he thinks that's the best episode he's done, which I think is definitely one of the best episodes he's, written. I wouldn't say 73 Yards is better. I would probably say Gridlock. Or in terms of actual episodes that Russell wrote, because you have to remember, a lot of the episodes they're written by other people, not all Russell. He mainly does like the opening, the finale, and a few middle episodes. I would say that Gridlock or Midnight may be his best one.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Right. So now we have a very difficult task.
We've got 3 minutes to answer it, folks.
Yeah, well, we're obviously not going to be able to do that, but we'll try.
I think it's fucking easy. I think Sound of Drums. What we got?
You think Utopia is better than Sound of Drums?
Oh,
I think Sound of Drums is better than Utopia, except for Derek Jacobi.
I'd go Sound of Drums, Utopia, Blink.
I like that Jack reappears in Utopia. Yeah, you're right. Utopia is better. Derek Jacobi's fucking awesome in that. And he should have been the master for longer. Okay.
I think I know how we can get through this very quickly. So for number 5, we all give our choice. And then whoever's the majority wins, and then do that for 4, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1.
So Sound of Drums, do we agree?
I guess. Yeah, I guess. Okay, I'll go with that. Fine. The Sound of Drums. Okay. Next, then, I guess, is probably Utopia. Yeah, because now we're in.
Now this is the divisive one. What does
we're
everyone prefer?
Best.
Blink
we're in the ones that
two-parter?
everyone agrees are the best that the modern series has ever done.
Blink is higher though because it was.
It's the episode, man. It's
the
episode.
I don't know anymore. You know, I like Blink a lot.
Well, Blink's legacy, I think, is a lot bigger than the two-parter surrounding basically the Family of Blood, because the biggest strength of the Family of Blood is also its biggest weakness, is the fact that they have the life of a mayfly and that they're basically a one-and-done villain, whereas with Blink, they introduced the Weeping Angels, by far the most compelling antagonists that New Who has ever produced, despite the fact they were supposed to be, like the Family of Blood, a one-and-done villain, but then Moffat got control.
Well, Moffat got so popular, you know, everybody
and
wanted
then
more
he diluted the Weeping Angels to the point where they weren't really that good
All
by
right.
the end of
So you're pretty convincing. But favor, just to play devil's advocate, I suppose, you've got probably Tennant's best performance in almost anything he's ever done. In these two episodes of Human Nature and the Family of Blood, you've got a real look at like just how terrible life could get for a companion. In the situation that Martha ends up in, being a servant in a boarding school. You've got commentary on the First World War and British culture. You've got what would happen if the Doctor became human, which is a question that maybe a few people asked, but no one had really thought of. And what actually happens with him falling in love and then having to go back to being the Doctor by the end of the second part is fucking incredible.
And then he goes psycho. He goes psycho.
And the return to it as well, when the punishment, the wrath that the Doctor inflicts on the Family of Blood, it's fucking epic. Like as a extreme Doctor heavy two-parter where he's not the Doctor for 80% of it. 90% of it. It's fucking amazing.
Even though I love the two-parter, if you want to put Blink above the two-parter, I don't really mind that. I mean, of course, I'm a defender of the two-parter, but the Blink is still a phenomenal episode. And Blink is not just a phenomenal episode of Doctor Who; it's just a great episode of television altogether. And anyone who hasn't seen Doctor Who, they would get the same enjoyment out of it. And as Ryan mentioned, it's the only episode where the Weeping Angels are done very well. After that, Moffat introduces all these stupid rules that contradict a bunch of stuff. And in the two-parter in Series 5, you see them moving and there's still statues, which makes no sense because they're not actually statues. They just look like that when they're observed. And he just completely botched them after that. So I do love Blink.
What gives Blink the edge to me is their legacy. Well, yes. Yes, ultimately it is up to the folks watching to decide. But to me, what gives Blink the edge over the great two-parter, which are both fantastic episodes, especially together, what makes Blink number one is the legacy that it creates with the Weeping Angels. And, you know, without Blink, all those stories with the Weeping Angels would not have been able to be made. If Blink wasn't just
I think it's fantastic. I don't know that it actually as an episode is like it's really just the scenes of the Doctor explaining things through the DVD. Now that's really good, isn't it? It's all very, very good. This is so hard.
Blink is great in the same reason that Turn Left and Midnight are great. It's because less is more.
Yeah, it's a Doctor Light episode versus an extremely Doctor Heavy episode or Tennant heavy. It's difficult. All right. Well, chat seems to be now going for Blink, but it began with a hell of a lot of people voting for Human Nature and Family of Blood. So,
do you value more, folks? Do you value the episodes just comparing the one to the two-parter, or the legacy?
I guess it's like, do you appreciate the narrative and the like the heavy look, the microscopic look at like the experience of being the Doctor or being near the Doctor, or like the legacy of what was created as a sort of a meta narrative outside of the episode itself with Blink? Well, which one is more important?
I think the legacy is more important.
Damn, tough. I'd say that the better episodes and better story are the Human Nature. But yeah, you're right. But it seems like chat's going for Blink. So what do you guys think? If you omit me from it, vote now. Blink or
number one, I'd put Blink.
Yeah. All right. Looks like Blink will be number one then. So, which part of nature and blood are the better or
I would
worse?
say human nature, number 3, family blood 2. They're interchangeable, but
yeah,
I'd just say that order.
One of the rare occasions where we actually say the second part is better than the first. All right, there you go. It's done. No surprises, really. Only a few difficult moments for me because I hate comparing things I love just as much as I hate comparing things I hate. But there you go. We've got it. It's 42, Lazarus, Shakespeare Code, Evolution of the Daleks in Manhattan, Last of the Time Lords, very low, Smith and Jones and Runaway Bride, Gridlock, Sound of Drums, Utopia, Human Nature, Family of Blood, and Blink. Fair enough. Nothing to be sniffed at there. And we've done it. Another series in the bag. Next week it's series 4. What do you think? Will that be easy or difficult?
That will be impossible.
Why?
Because so many of those episodes are either good or fantastic. Very few are meh, and none of them are bad.
Well, yeah, okay. I do remember series 4 being excellent from pretty much start to finish. With only a couple of slight dips in the middle. Okay, then. Fair enough. And yes, the nerfing of the angels was very frustrating, and Goldie, you did a good job of explaining it. Let's do outros then, guys. Let's start with you, Rev, shall we?
Yep, I'll be doing streams today, tomorrow, and then
Screams?
Tuesday I'm back on here. Yeah, streams. It's been a pleasure being here. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to Well Up Here and also like and share all the videos and consider joining because we have an awesome community. I'll be back later today on Reality Extreme with Ryan, and I'll see everybody.
Reality Extreme?
Yeah.
Is it not reality-based extreme anymore?
Yeah, fucker, just turbo chemo on Dobby's
man.
He said scream instead of stream. He's misnaming
Turbotism.
words. Yeah,
all right.
turbo.
Are you done, Rev?
Yeah.
All right, Goldie, you're up, mate.
Well, the stream has been great talking about Series 3. And, I've been remembering a lot of episodes which I love, but it appears, apparently my love is nonsensical. But as for me, I will be hopefully... So for me, I will hopefully have a video out today at some point. Should be in a few hours. I have to make the bloody thing first, so let's see how long it takes me to do that. But yeah, I'm hoping to get a video out today. Yeah, I'm going over an opinion. I'm going over an opinion piece on what someone has done on the spin-offs and why it could work, why it could fail. So I'm going to be discussing that. So that's the video I've got planned for today, and then hopefully we have some news come out in the week about Doctor Who, the cast, something I can latch onto. If not, I will be reading the 15th Doctor novels and some of the comics, and I'll review those because at the end of the day, they're new content, and it would be a change of scenery, wouldn't it? As opposed to just going back over the stuff that came out years ago. So yeah, that's what I've got planned.
Thank you. All right, Ryan, you're up, mate.
Well, folks, thank you all very much for watching the 18th episode of WhoTF Live. It's always a pleasure to be on the show. As for me, you can check me out over at Ryan Roger Athe, host and founder of Reality Based. Recently released a video called Exploring Lilo and Stitch Remake Teaser Trailer N-Word Blooper, where Stitch said the N-word during the teaser trailer. Yes, this is true. Disney. Yes.
Right.
Dobby saw it. He was there. It was funny as fuck. And I turned it into a little video from Dragon Slayer's show. So, yes, 3 more videos for today. Of course, Reality-Based Extreme will be live at 9 p.m. UK time, which is 4 p.m. Eastern. Dobby will be there. Dempsey will be there. And Toasty with the Mosty will be there as well. Here's to a great show. And fingers crossed we can keep on going and keep on growing in the month of August, because I didn't get ill in July. Yay.
Not yet.
It did last July and the July before, but
Really?
thankfully.
I rarely get ill.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I don't
because
really.
that's I'm not going to answer that.
That's because you don't go
Because
out.
our immune systems aren't compromised like yours, Ryan.
No, it's because Goldie gets a lot of facial treatments.
Oh, it's a game.
No. The only time I really get ill is when there's an extreme change in temperature. But I've monitored and sort of maintained the temperature in my house this year quite well, so I think that's why. I never really get ill at all. What I do is I never really get ill, but when I do get ill, it's really bad. Yeah. I've only been sick like 3 times in my life.
You don't have. That's actually quite impressive. I've probably been ill.
The last
about
time
10
it was
times.
blood, but yeah.
AIDS is a hell of a disease.
Period or something?
No, something in my stomach exploded. It was awful.
Oh my
That's
god.
what
That's
she
not funny.
said.
That's not funny at all. At least you said she. Anyway, that'll do for that particular sequence of outros. What the fuck? The stream gets weirder every week.
That's
All
why
right,
Tony
whatever.
doesn't show himself. I got it now.
All right, I will do.
Ryan,
my,
you're obsessed with gay men.
Yes, he is.
That's because you are, Goldie. It's in your
What's he
name.
compensating for?
I'm not.
I don't know. I don't know. I just don't care that much anymore. Let me give my outro, guys. You want to go or not? Come on. All right. So yes, I have come back a little earlier than I probably would have otherwise, but this was a very good stream, so I'm very glad that I did come back. You people in the chat have been excellent, and of course, very special thanks to Eris Rhoda, TJab Steve, and Andy Radart, who joined of own volition. Eris Rhoda, while I'm on the subject, says congratulations again, Will and Mrs. Thank you very much. And I was planning a full day of making videos tomorrow to try and get the grind back up and running, but that may be a little later than I had originally anticipated, since in about 4 hours time, I have to drive clear across this island to pick up my wife and bring her home with my daughter. So I'm going to be doing that. No rest for the wicked, but I will be back as soon as possible, and we will be streaming on Tuesday for WTF Live. So hope to see you there. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the panel, and thank you to the chat. Nothing left to do then but wave stupidly at the camera and say see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stop the car.